Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to another episode of UNC Hoops Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Dan DeWitt, coming at you not always because Gil has been taking some, but like we do every week with the latest Tar Heels analysis of games, stats, news, updates, whatever it is. We are here to help you guys stay on top of it and to help unite Tar Heel Nation. So I hope that you will join in the conversation and come along with me on this journey as we first take a wrap up as we wrap up the Battle for Atlantis tournament for the Tar Heels quickly, and then jump into a huge week, 2 top 5 matchups for the Tar Heels coming up this week. So a big time week, and we will find out a lot, if we haven't already, about our Tar Heels. So before we jump in, I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving, at least if you're in the United States, and you got lots of food, and also you got to watch plenty of college basketball because there was plenty there. Dayton, Kansas was huge. Let's see who else. Well, the Maui Invitational, Georgia or Gonzaga in the championship, losing to Michigan. Michigan jumping from an unranked team to number 4 in the country after beating Iowa State, us, and Gonzaga. And now they play number 1 Louisville tomorrow. Shout out to Wes Miller, former Tar Heel, obviously, coach of the UNC Greensboro team, taking down Georgetown, I believe, in their building. There was just a lot of basketball and a lot to be had, on top of course, football as normal during Thanksgiving. But I hope you guys got to spend some time with your friends, family, whoever you spend Thanksgiving with, and also to eat some good food. But we are going to jump in. I am going to do a pretty quick wrap up of the Battle for Atlantis. One, because I'm not sure I'm going to remember each game individually, especially going back to the Alabama game, but also because we did but analysis of the game. We broke down the game and stats and stuff shortly after the games were over on Instagram stories. So if you're not following me over on Instagram, it's at Tar Heel Dan, just like it is Twitter. Anywhere else pretty much. Make sure you go follow there, because we're going to hopefully keep doing that for every game, either right after or shortly after the game ends, going live on Instagram. I would love to have you, watch and join, make comments and what your thoughts of the game, and just kind of have a discussion over there on Instagram stories. It shouldn't change this podcast too much. We're still going to jump into some stats and stuff, but especially for this tournament where we got 3 games here and a lot to talk about going forward. Not going to jump into the stats as much, but going forward, it shouldn't change much, especially when we're talking about these big games that we got this week, looking back on them. But yeah, just kind of a quick overview of those. So we started off with Alabama in the first game, started off kind of slow, ended up getting a 76-67 win, so not bad, but we didn't necessarily play great. Shot 36% from the 3-point line, 41% overall for the game, 62% from the free throw line, which had been a problem coming in. We rebounded really well, 60 rebounds to their 31, which of course that means there was a lot of missed shots, and we got 23 offensive rebounds, which again means there's a lot of missed shots for getting that many offensive rebounds. But we almost matched. Well, we matched their defensive rebounds with our offensive rebounds, and like I said, almost doubled them up, rebound to rebound. But just didn't play great. Cole Anthony had been leading us in scoring, only 13 this game, 6 assists, 7 rebounds. So did have 6 turnovers as well, 4 steals. So kind of filled out there, but not as much scoring there. Garrison Brooks actually led us with 20 points. Baycott pushed in 12 and 15. So good rebounding. I mean, that's about what we want from Armando. And I said that in the after the, it was the Oregon game. We kind of got more than we expected. This is kind of more where we want. If we can get 12 and 10 out of him or so, that's really good. And then Brandon Robinson also shot the ball in his first game back from his injury. 12 points, 3 for 6 from 3-point line, 6 rebounds, a couple assists as well from him. And that's our double figure. Leaky Black almost double figures with 9 points, 9 rebounds. And yeah, we got the win. We moved on. That was kind of a big game because if we win that one, we kind of ensure ourselves of 2 big opponents going forward, which at that point we knew was going to be Michigan. And then everybody kind of thought we'd see Gonzaga in the championship, which they did their part. We came out very flat and just I give credit to Michigan from the way they played. Obviously, not even just against us, the whole tournament, but they put Mondo in ball screens. He could not handle that. He did not show up at all. 6.6 rebounds, especially coming off his third straight double-double in the Alabama game. And then what he did also in the Oregon game. This is just kind of hopefully the outlier for him with 6.6 rebounds. Cole rebounded a little bit better. Shot 2 for 7 from 3, but ended up with 22 points, 7 rebounds. Again, 3 assists to 3 turnovers isn't great. The 1-to-1 ratio there is not great. But Garrison Brooks, 13 points there, 8 rebounds. Again, about what we need from him. Brandon Robinson, 9 points, but did not shoot. Nobody shot the ball well from 3. We were 2 for 13. And shooting overall, we were 43% overall, 15% from 3, and then 50% from the free throw line. So again, struggling there. Out-rebounded them 36-34, 11 offensive rebounds for us. But, give credit to them. They shot the ball pretty darn well, 42% from 3, 50% overall. Defensively, they were just trouble for us. And like I said, they put Armando into ball screens and then they shot the ball well. And yeah, it just was not a good. They had us down 22, 24 points, something like that at one point. We did make a comeback, so that was good from the guys that we did rebound and come back, but not a good overall showing for the Tar Heels. And like I said, Armando, pretty poor game, got benched kind of late in the second half, ended up with a -17 in his pluses minus. Only person that outdid him was Andrew Platek in his 16 3/4 minutes, -23. So taking advantage. And I believe somebody even said that they kind of asked the opposing coaches, and they said, yeah, every time Platek's out there, we're going at him. So we've mentioned it before. Again, I don't want to repeat the whole Instagram story, but people taking advantage. He's just not athletic enough, not enough length. He tries really hard. You gotta credit the guy and stuff, but yeah, kind of a struggle there. And then the Tar Heels actually bounced back against an Oregon team that's probably playing better than us and a little bit better with their identity and an older team. Obviously a star in Peyton Pritchard. He ended up with 19, which I'm surprised here. I didn't see his final, but we did a pretty good job on Pritchard there. Never really let him get going. But also Oregon had taken Gonzaga to overtime the night before. They had the late game, went to overtime, and so I think it was about a 17-hour gap between the end of their game, the tip-off of the game, or maybe it was even tip-off to tip-off. So they were definitely, and you could tell, the announcer said too, like Oregon just doesn't have energy. They don't have any get up and go against us, and thankfully our guys took advantage of it. And hey, you play the games you're dealt, you play the hand you're dealt. We took advantage of it. It could have, we showed up like we did the day before. We don't end up this way, but Baycott definitely rebounded from his poor game. 23 points, 12 rebounds, 6 blocks. He was a monster for sure. Cole Anthony, 19 points, 5 rebounds, just 1 assist actually. Brandon Robinson rebounded from his game shooting-wise, 13 points on 3 for 7 from three-point line. Garrison Brooks, 9 points, 10 rebounds. So again, right at that double-double area where we need him. Leaky Black did not play but 8.5 minutes in this. And actually before this game, it was said Garrison Brooks had a bruise of his cornea or something. His eye had goggles on kind of off and on in the game. And then also Leaky Black, they were both questionable. They ended up both starting and playing, but Leaky only played 8.5 minutes. I guess it was he has turf toe, and then he stubbed his toe or something as well and just couldn't do it. A lot of pain there. And so hopefully he's better here coming forward. Cole Anthony actually also twisted his – Brandon Robinson also twisted his ankle, I remember now. Went back, got taped, and came back in. Cole Anthony never left, but did leave the Bahamas in a walking boot. He said he would be okay to go this week, more precautionary stuff. So hopefully everybody continues to get healthy. And that's kind of the story so far. We've talked so much about getting Brandon Robinson back. We need Anthony Keeling back. If we ever hopefully get Sterling Manley, maybe Jeremiah Francis, by the end of the year can give us a few minutes if he doesn't redshirt. We don't expect much out of that, but all those guys, they can add, 3-5 minutes and giving guys breaks and adding some energy, adding, just a little bit here and there is going to help us going forward. So, yeah, we get a big 78-74 win, out rebounded them again, did well on the offensive boards, actually allowed them to get 22 offensive boards. Can't let that happen again. But the blocks from Baycott, and actually Garrison Brooks had 3. The shooting, and we just looked a lot better, even though we didn't blow Oregon out or anything like that. Even starting the game, we just looked so much better in this game than obviously the game before. But I think even all season, I think that was our best game. And not that there's not still a ton of room for improvement, but Christian Killing got to add more. Justin Pierce, we got to get more out of him. Things like that have got to get better. But puts a wrap. We go 2-1 in Atlantis, in the Bahamas, which I think is a pretty good outing. But it does not get easier from here. We jump right into the ACC Big Ten Challenge, which starts tonight, but not too many games on tonight. Tomorrow I mentioned the Michigan-Louisville game, Duke-Michigan State tomorrow night is both huge. And then our game is the late game, kind of finishing off the ACC Big Ten Challenge. I don't think anybody cares who wins between the conferences, so I'm not even going to mention that. But we could decide that. But, again, who cares? We take on Ohio State in Chapel Hill in the Dean Smith Center. At 9:30 Eastern on ESPN is where this game will be held, or shown, whatever you want to say. And the rankings just came out this morning. We dropped down to number 7 after our loss to Michigan. Ohio State moved up. We kind of just switched spots there, so they are number 6. So it's 6 and 7 taking on each other here on Wednesday night. And like I said, big game. They are a good team. I have not seen them play. Trying to think, I don't know that they're a real veteran team, but they're definitely not all freshmen either. And Holtman's definitely got it going for the Buckeyes there. This is going to be a tough one. Hopefully the edge is that it's at home for us, and the crowd kind of gives us the win. It's a game we can win. We can beat Ohio State for sure. But it kind of depends. What does our energy look like? Who's healthy? Is Leaky Black going to be able to play? Garrison Brooks doesn't look like he had any ongoing stuff. He played pretty well in that Oregon game with and without the goggles or glasses. But hopefully he's completely better. Hopefully Cole Anthony, B-Rob don't have any lingering issues with their ankles. And hopefully we come out with the win here. I'm not going to predict a win here because, like I said, it could go either way. If we don't come out shooting, if we don't come out, we have to play one of our best games of the season. Like, Oregon, I think what kind of pushed us over the edge was they were so tired from playing the late game and going to overtime with Gonzaga the night before that, we need something that pushes us over the edge. Hopefully it's that we're at home, but we can't come out shooting poorly. We can't just depend on Cole. Baycott's got to come back out and have a big game. Garrison Brooks got to do what he's been doing. And then, we need B-Rob to knock down some shots and our bench to kind of keep it going. We can't have any drop off when we bring in, Play Tech, when we bring in Pierce, when we bring in Keeling. He's, again, they got to just knock down some shots to open it up for Garrison and for Baycott inside, open up driving lanes for Cole. And then Cole has got to make sure that he doesn't force it. But this should be a really good matchup, really tell us something about us. And then it still doesn't get easier because after Wednesday night game, we travel to Charlottesville and take on Virginia, who is ranked number 5. So we take on number 16 this week and the number 5th team in the country as the number 7th team. So we shouldn't be favored. I don't know, maybe at home against Ohio State because the rankings are just one off. Maybe we will be favored by a point or two. But we're definitely not going to be favored at Virginia. And that game, I'm going to go ahead and say, if I had to predict that we would lose it, not just because we're not favored, but just the way, obviously, Virginia's defense has been going and the way our half-court offense, like they just don't let us. I mean, even in years past when we've had better teams than this year, especially at getting on the break and running, they just don't let you get out on the break and get fast point breaks or points. And the way our half-court offense has looked this year, that's going to be a real struggle for us. I hope that we score more than 34 like they held Virginia to. I know they just held a lesser opponent to 24 this weekend. So I hope that we can score a little bit against them. And their offense is not as good as it was last couple years even. They haven't been scoring a bunch either. They're not blowing teams out, but their defense is just so tough. hopefully we can make it a close one. And, if we do knock down some shots, maybe we got a chance there. But that is going to be a really tough game in Charlotte. Remember, this is the other early ACC game. We played Notre Dame to start the season off. This one will be on the ACC network, and that is at 4 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, December 8th. Luckily, after this game, we get a week off until the following Sunday when we play Wofford. So obviously, we'll podcast again before that game to look back at this Ohio State game and this Virginia game and look forward to the Wofford and then the Gonzaga game coming up after that. Going back to the battle for Atlantis a little bit, thankfully we didn't play Gonzaga there because we got them coming up here in a week and a half. But yeah, as far as Ohio State, Virginia, two really tough games. Ohio State, I think, can go either way. Virginia is going to be so tough to compete. Well, not to compete. We're going to hopefully compete with them. We're always going to get them to compete. But, hopefully we'll be 2-0 in the ACC going into the 2020. But I think more likely it's going to be that we're 1-1 going into 2020 when we start the rest of ACC play. But obviously, again, going back to Battle for Atlantis, we lose to Michigan, which has shown not just against us, but everybody they played, and we'll see how they do against Louisville tomorrow night. But they're a really good team. But if we lost that game, if we would have lost Oregon, which is possible, if they wouldn't have been so tired, I think if we would have knocked down a few key shots, we would have been in trouble there. We'd be coming to off 2 losses with Ohio State, the number 6 team, and Virginia, number 5 team in the country. So really tough there. We could, if we would have lost to Oregon, it could have been a 4-game losing streak there. But like I said, hopefully being at home puts us over the top for Ohio State. Virginia, hopefully we're just competitive, and I don't know, we'll see. It'll definitely be interesting. We'll definitely be watching there as we go forward. But that's kind of where I'm going to wrap it this week. I don't want to spend too much time here because it's going to take we're going to need a lot of time to talk about those games as we go forward. Like I said, though, make sure you go over to Instagram and follow me there so that you get those post-game live shows with either me or Gil. Just talking about the game and definitely, taking questions and comments and stuff from you. But before we wrap this up, Hannibal, who's been watching live on YouTube here, said we need the grad transfers to step up, especially Keeling. Says he's a nut, shooting all over the place and missing. I tweeted it too. Like, you'd think his confidence would be broke by now, but he's definitely shooting the ball. Like he's got the confidence, which I guess is good. You want him to keep shooting, but at some point you got to start making it. And even when Leakey didn't start the second half, he started Justin Pierce instead of Keeling, who had been starting games. So I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know if it was just matchup stuff or if Roy's losing a little bit of confidence in Keeling. They said he was showing good stuff in practice, but it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with Keeling going forward. If he can get into a groove and start knocking down shots, or if Roy starts pushing him, less and less minutes. But like I said, guys, wherever you're listening to this as well, go subscribe. And if you could, go to patreon.com/UNC Hoops Talk. The link is in the description as well. But even $1 a month or so, support the podcast, and that way we could get more hosting and do more podcasts for the audio only. We wouldn't have to do all these analysis on Instagram, or I've thought about doing them on Twitter as well. But we wouldn't have to do that. We could send it all to the podcast feed wherever you're subscribed. So would love for you guys to go to patreon.com, $1 or $2 a month, support the podcast. All that goes right back into the hosting fee costs. So that is all I got. I'm going to leave you guys here. I will see you guys, if not next week, the week after. If Gil takes next week, I'll take the week after that. But I will see you guys then. Until then, go Heels.